Ready. Well, Mr. Earl, first I want to thank you for helping me out in publishing and making of this book. Like I told you last Friday, I want to tell you a little bit more about the accident and the aftermath of the accident, so that way you have an idea how we're gonna work on this book. It was Wednesday, the 21st. It was May 21st, 2003. That's the day that I picked up the load from Bakersfield, California. It was an unusual one. It was the first time that I hauled a set of doubles by myself. I never liked those. And so when I got to Fresno in the afternoon that Wednesday, I saw an accident. So I kind of was freaked out already, and it just happened that the accident was a set of doubles. I got to Corning, California, and in Corning, California, I slept for 8 hours. Woke up the next morning, Thursday the 22nd, and 4 a.m. And I heard on the radio that there was an accident, and this accident was on the state line from Oregon and California. Some truck driver decided to go around on I-97. I went all the way on the 5, thinking that by the time I get there, the freeway was gonna be open, because they said it was closed. So, well, by my surprise, the freeway was still closed at 7 a.m. When we got there, a few truck drivers were saying the reason why the freeway was closed for such a long time for a single vehicle, a single truck, anyway, it was because the truck driver possibly had died. So that was on my mind, right? So I left there and I got to Oregon, to Portland, Oregon, in the afternoon. I spent some time there with one of my sons. Well, I saw all my kids, but I spent most of the time with one of my sons. His birthday was going to be on the 27th of May, so it was just about 4 or 5 days away from his birthday. So that was on Thursday. So I left the next day around 5 a.m. To Tacoma, Washington. I dropped the set of doubles, which I was so excited to have done that, because I never liked those. And I pick up a 53 footed, just a single trailer. And I start driving on I-90, heading to Yakima. Around 11, which I'm gonna get the right time when I get the report from the CHP, or not the CHP, but anyway, the law enforcement over there in Kent, Washington. I'm gonna get the right time, but I know it was around 11, because I was told the accident was about 11:05. I remember seeing a red truck, so that's all I remember, just a red truck. Next thing I remember, I was inside the truck. I was screaming, and I saw a whole bunch of people. And I could hear them saying, let's get him out, because the truck is catching on fire. And then I heard someone else saying, no, it's not fire, it's just the steam from the radiator. So then I saw this lady coming inside the truck, and they were telling her to get out. She said, no, I'm gonna secure his neck, I'm a certified nurse. So I think she secured my neck, my head, and then another guy got in. And when this other guy got in, I asked him to look for my Bible. And he's like, what do you need a Bible for? I said, well, I want to pray. He said, most of your stuff is all over the place, it's on the floor. But he asked me, what do I need? I said, I want to pray. So I said, well, pray with me. So I grabbed his hand and we pray. I pray. I knew something was wrong. At the moment, I couldn't figure out what was going on, but I knew something was wrong. I think I was unconscious for a few minutes. And I knew I had been in an accident, because I knew that, because I was bleeding from the head, and I couldn't feel my leg, even though it's kind of weird, I was in pain, but I couldn't feel it. And then I feel this weird sensation on my chest, this pressure on my chest. So after we're done praying, I heard the radio came on, the radio from the truck, and I heard a voice, and the voice said, only Jesus Christ is the answer for all your troubles. So while all of this is happening, I'm trying to think where am I, what's going on, which I know I was in an accident, but I just couldn't figure out what was going on. So then I heard the ambulance and the fire department. They came, and one of the guys from the fire department got inside my truck, and then he was able to move the seat, because the seat had me against the steering wheel. So he was able to move the seat back, and they released me, and they took me to the ambulance. Whilst I was on the ambulance, I heard one of the paramedics he radioed the helicopter, and he told the helicopter guy, hey, I think the helicopter say, where are we going to do the changes? and the guy from the ambulance said, we're going to do it here. The freeway's already closed, and the patient is in trauma. He's bleeding intensely. He has an internal bleeding, so we're going to do the changes so we can move him. So that's all I remember from there. And then I saw myself. Then I saw myself in the helicopter. While I was in the helicopter, I knew something was wrong. Once again, I couldn't breathe. I felt the pressure on my chest. I couldn't breathe, and right there I knew that something was about to happen. I do remember that there was a lady inside the helicopter, and she called me by my name. I know she called me by my name and said, Douglas, stay awake. You're going to the best hospital in the West Coast. We have the best doctors here in the state of Washington. You're going to Harborview Trauma Medical Center. Don't worry about it. You're going to be okay. I don't remember answering anything, but then something weird happened. I heard stories before where people say, hey, when you're dying, you see your life before you. Your life, well, before you're about to die. So that's what I saw. I saw my life. I saw since I was a kid, and then I saw my kids, and I saw myself in different places, and right there I knew I was about to die. So that's when I said, God, I know I've done wrong. I know I made a few mistakes, and I think I'm dying. I think this is it. I know I'm dying. I can't breathe, and I can feel this blood coming out of my mouth, ear, nose. So I know something is happening. I'm just going to ask you one thing and one thing only. Do not let me die here by myself. Let me just see my family before I die, but don't let me die here by myself. And then it's something weird, because then I saw they take me inside the hospital. I saw myself in the bed. While I was in the bed, I see these 4 young men. I can see them really good, But right there, I still don't know what's going on. I saw them, and they came up to me, and they took me off the bed, and they took me on this thing that looks like a box made out of wood. It had 2 poles on the side. And then I saw myself in the air, and I could see the trees. Then we landed on this hill. And after we landed on the hill, they left me there by myself. And I think a few minutes later, the ground opened. The ground opened in like 2 holes in one. 2 guys came out, and they were really tall with no eyes. And one of them just stay put. He didn't move. The other one moved toward me, and there was a fire in between. It was a big fire. I'm trying to think, where am I? And I'm trying to think what's going on. And my mind is still telling me, you were involved in an accident. And I saw myself with the same clothes I had that day, the same clothes and everything. So, and then the guy that moved pulled out his sword. He said, today you're gonna die. And I'm like, where am I? So I'm trying to think, and then I start moving away from this guy, because I can see he has a big sword, and he wants to kill me. So, and then I said, wait a minute, I asked God for a second chance. So where am I? Am I dead? So while I'm struggling with this guy, then I started screaming. And I started saying, God, I asked you for a second chance. What happened? Am I dead? And then I heard a voice. The voice behind me said, Douglas, who do you think you are for me to give you a second chance at life if someone died here the same way you did? So then I said, well, but I asked you for a second chance. Why didn't you give it to me? And then where am I? And then again, for a few minutes later, the voice said the same thing again. Douglas, who do you think you are for me to give you a second chance at life if someone died here the same way you did? When he said that, I kind of paused for a while, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. If someone died here the same way I did, well, that means that I'm dead, but where am I? My mind is like trying to, to think, where was I? So then, I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm dead. If I'm dead, so where am I? And then I look to my left, and I see the freeway. I see the freeway, and I see mile marker 7. At that moment, I realized that I was exactly at the same place where the truck driver had an accident the day before me on Thursday the 22nd. So I was at the same place at the mile marker 7. That's when I realized, wait a minute, the boy said, someone died here the same way you did. Well, I guess I'm dead. That's when I started panicking. And I felt this weird, in this horrible thing, weird sensation in my body, that I knew that I had broken my leg. I knew that something happened to my chest. I knew that I had opened my head, but right there where I was completely. I didn't have no fractures, no nothing. So after I was screaming for a while, screaming and yelling, why you didn't give me a second chance? I saw like around 50 people, holding hands, and they all were saying in just one voice, God give Douglas a second chance. After a while, the 4 young men came back and took me back to the hospital, I remember. And then I remember waking up. I wake up, but I still don't know what's going on. After like maybe 2 days or a day, I asked what happened. And that's when they told me that I had been in an accident. And I told them, yes, I have. And when I asked what day it was, someone said it is Friday. And so I think it was probably the same day that I came back. But I still don't know what's going on. So after a while, I think after a few days, maybe a week or so, I asked the doctor what had happened. At first, the doctors didn't tell me in details everything that happened because I think they were afraid for me to freak out, if they will tell me everything that happened because I was still in critical conditions. But that's when they told me that on the medical records it says tear, and there is another medical record that says rupture. So we're gonna get into that for sure when I get the medical records from the hospital because it's taking them a while. But according to the doctors, I bled. I bled a lot. And then they told me that I had a ruptured aorta or a tear aorta, and then also my left lung had collapsed. My left lung and was punched with the ribs, and then they told me I have fractured my leg in like 5 different parts, including the hip, the femur, and the knee, and the tibia, and my foot. And they had to put it back, with rods and metals and screws. And I remember that's basically about it. They say something about the spleen, but at first I didn't know what the spleen was, to be honest. So they mentioned a few other things. Of course, while I was there, I know they still were treating me. I was still in critical condition. And about 2 weeks later, after the accident, I remember it was about 2 or 3. It's also going to be on the file, on the medical record. About 7 doctors came to my room. I want to say about 6, 7, but to details, I don't know if they all were doctors. But about 7 persons came to my room. And my boss was visiting me at the moment. My mom had been there already because my mom is the one who got there the same day. Unfortunately for my mom, she ended up in Canada by accident. They put him on the wrong plane. She had to take a private plane to come back to Seattle. And then she's the one who went through everything with my kids. They made it sign around 3 times. Hopefully we can get those papers because there were 3 surgeries done while I was in coma, and all 3 required her signature. And all 3 times they were told my mom that it was always a possibility that I wasn't gonna make it. So they told my mom that there was about 15% chance, or even less. Basically, they told my mom that in the next 2 weeks I didn't come out of coma or I didn't have any reactions. They were going to pull the plugs because fortunately and unfortunately, depends how people see it, I was an organ donor. And since I wasn't married and most of my kids, my kids were underage, nobody could say anything. And so I think the doctors were thinking, hey, he's not going to make it anyway. So, well, thank God we already know that 8 days later I woke up. I came back. So my mom went through all of that, right? So even though my mom doesn't speak English, she went through a lot. So that day when the doctors came to the bed, they just stand there for a while. They told me they had some news. They didn't say bad news at first, but you can see in their faces something was wrong. And my mom was just sitting in front of me. My boss was to my right, and he moved when the doctors came in. And my mom just started crying. The doctors have not even said anything yet when she already started crying because you could see in their faces something was wrong. So they asked my mom to leave the room. She said, no, I want to stay here. I want to hear what's going on. So my boss was translating to her, and I was doing too. So they told me that there was a problem. There was an infection on the spleen, and unfortunately the infection was very close to the heart, and they needed to do a surgery right away. Okay, that sounds like a bad news because they have to remove the spleen, and I already been in pretty bad shape. But the real bad news is that I had lost so much blood, and they had given me so much blood that they couldn't give me no more blood. As a matter of fact, I was reading some of the papers that I have right now at the house, and something about 150,000 cells. So I don't know too much about medical stuff, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna have someone that's gonna help us out to understand that. So they said they couldn't give me no more blood transfusion. So unfortunately, they had to do the surgery with the minimum blood transfusion or nothing at all. But I still was like, so okay, so what's the big deal, you know? So yeah, I already been through a lot. I have about 7 surgeries all over my body, and I have a plastic in my heart because they told me that they put a plastic not in the heart, but in the aorta connecting to the heart, and they have some clamps or something holding my lungs. So what's the big deal? Just open the same way and get it out. So they told me that wasn't that easy. So they told us that unfortunately, I might not make it out of it. I might not make it out of it, but they were gonna try their best. And of course, my mom was hysterical crying. So they left. You know, I called my kids. I called a few friends, and I called my kids, and I just told them not to worry about it. That everything was gonna be okay, and that I loved them. I love them, and to forgive me if in some way I have been a bad father to them, since I was separated with their moms for a while. They live over there. Coincidentally, they live over there in Oregon at that time when the accident happened. And some of them, and they still live there right now. So I called a few other friends, a few pastors. My boss called his uncle, who's an evangelist from Colombia. He was in New York at the time. He prayed for me. The whole night I prayed. You know, I asked God to forgive me. But I also said something else. I said, God, I remember when I was in the helicopter, I asked you for a second chance to let me see my kids, my family. I know you have, and I really thank you for that. But I just want to ask you one more thing. And I know you can do it. Doctors have done their best, and I'm very thankful for that. They have done their best. You know, they put me back together. So now I'm going to ask you just one more thing. Just to give me one more chance at life. I want to see my kids grow up. I want to see my kids graduate from high school. I want to see my kids get married. I want to see grandkids. I know they're going to do this tomorrow, and I might not come out of it. But it's up to you. I wish you could just take care of this tonight. I know I have an infection and it's growing, and they need to do this right away. If they have to pull out the spleen, let them get it out. But do not let me die on that bed. You know, I don't remember if I said this, but I think I did. I did probably say that I would rather die on my sleep on that night. But I don't think I slept. I don't think I slept through the whole night. Besides, I was in pain. I think they gave me a lot of morphine that night, but nothing was helping me. So even the nurses were like, I needed to get some rest because I needed to get rest for the next day. They took me down to this place. They did some more tests, a whole bunch of tests to get me ready for the surgery. So in the morning, I don't remember what time, maybe around 9 a.m., 10, I don't remember in details. One lady came from the doctors that were there before, and you could see in her face something happened. This lady was all smiles, and she told me, Douglas, we don't know what happened, how this happened, but the infection had disappeared. There was something around your spleen, and it's gone. It's completely gone. It's just little right there, almost completely gone. And we don't have to do a surgery. You're not in danger, but we're still gonna remove the spleen. But we're gonna have someone do it in Los Angeles. We're gonna keep it here maybe a few more weeks. If something happens, we'll do it here. But if not, we don't have to do it here no more. The infection has gone. We don't know how, but it has gone. So the infection disappeared over the night. Doctors again were like, they kept saying everything was a miracle in my life during those days. When I met the first doctors after the accident, when I was able to recognize and understand what's going on, they told me that I was supposed to die from the impact. Another doctor said, no, a few doctors said I was supposed to die minutes after the accident, and a few doctors said, no, you were supposed to die from the impact, because my whole left chest just literally crashed. All these ribs, about 9 fraction ribs, that's on my medical record too, they broke and went through my lung, and of course the aorta, the main vein. So I was supposed to die from the impact, and on my head, from the bump of the head. So now after this happened, after that night, I saw a few other doctors. They came out later on to tell me they were so excited because that infection had gone. They call it mucus or something, they were saying. It had gone. So we stayed there a few more weeks until I learned how to bend my knee so I can get on the plane, because otherwise they were not gonna let me get on the plane until I learned how to bend my knee, because my leg was straight due to the metal. So it took me about a week or two, I think a week, to learn how to bend my knee a little bit. So and then I got on a plane. They brought me back to Los Angeles. I came to home. When I came home, I was supposed to be taken to another hospital, but they said that they were gonna have a nurse come to be with me every day, which, by the way, it never happened. That's another story. Only one nurse came, or two nurses, just twice, and that was it. My mom is the one who took care of me. Now, I have mentioned that we're gonna talk about how my life after the accident was while I came here, because some other things happened. For instance, I wasn't supposed to get any high fever. Any high fever could have killed me easily. So at one time I lost my voice for almost a week. And then for 3 or 4 months, I still couldn't move my leg. And I still had to learn how to bend my knee. And then another time, stopped breathing at the house. Something happened with the lung. So they took me to the hospital, and they told me that everything was okay, that I have to use I had this thing to exercise my lungs. So I had this thing that I would blow me back, air. So I was there for a few hours. They sent me back. The rehab, it took approximately 4 to 6 years. 4 to 6 years. They did another surgery 2 years after the accident to remove the rod that was inside my bone on my right leg, because 2 of the screws were getting really close to my upper hip. So because what the doctors did, they tried to save my leg, because supposedly they were gonna cut it off from the knee to the knee bottom. But so the screws needed to be removed. So if they were gonna remove the screws, they were just gonna remove the rod. So they removed the rod, and then the doctor said they're gonna need another 2 years for me to heal and remove the rest of them. They couldn't do it all at once, because another thing is I couldn't be in the surgery room for such a long time because of my spleen and the issue with the heart. So, and still, it was a long surgery, I heard, because when I woke up, it was horrible. I thought I was gonna die again. So then the next 4 years later, they removed the rest of the rod. One of the things that you had asked me and that you said is about inspiration. Yes, it is. It is, and because I have been through a lot. I had the help of my mom and other people, around me, brothers from church and everything. But one of the things that I can understand, and this is coming from doctors. I hope we can get those medical records for the doctor. It's the one doctor I met here. He was about to retire. The guy was about 70-something years old. He had been in the medical field for like 40-something. He was a cardiologist. He was reading my paper. He was reading my papers in front of me. I went to him for an evaluation and things that attorneys do and insurance do. So I went to him and he was reading my papers. He was reading my papers, and then he asked me if that person was me. He said it with a smile, bro. I said, yes. I said, no. He said, if I was reading this paper and I wouldn't have seen you, I wouldn't think it was you. He said, because it is impossible for someone to look like you look right now after you went through. One thing I'm gonna say is that there is no way you could have survived close to an hour with your main vein, the aorta, bleeding from the heart, and your left lung collapse, and it was you were bleeding from the lung to, so how you survive. And this guy said something that didn't just get my attention because I already knew. He said, "Douglas, do you believe in God?" I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "You should," he said. "Do you go to church?" I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Well, find a church that is open every day, and you should thank God every day because," see, he said, "I never seen anything like this. I've seen stories about people that have survived this, but it's different stories from yours. See, yours, you were messed up. You were messed up from your lung. I mean, you were messed up. You were supposed to die from the impact." He's another guy who told me the same thing. And then I met another doctor also. He was my primary doctor. Even though that he was the orthopedic, he also had knowledge of this kind of thing. He's the one that I told you that he's had retired. Hopefully we can find him. And this guy, he has some colleagues. And same like the other guy, he called his friends, to come and see me and read my files. And this other guy, my primary doctor, who's the one who treated me from the beginning, he told me something else. He called a few of his friends to tell them the story about me. See, if your friends told you that was a lie, that was impossible. Because it is impossible. He said, "Some gets right." I said, "Well, this guy is sitting in front of me. When you get a chance, I'm going to show you the files." And of course, he called all the people that were there to meet me. Because they say it's impossible. Everybody used the word impossible to survive something like that. I know I'm talking like this so you can have an idea, but about 2 years after I came to, from 2 years of the accident, I got a letter from the hospital in Washington. It had to be someone who had knowledge to my accident because she was going in details with me. Well, after I got the letter, I called them and I sent them some stuff, and then she called me back, and she went with a whole bunch of questions. One of the questions that she asked me was, "Have you had any major health issues since the accident?" I said no, and she said, "Well, you can tell me the truth." She said, I said, "No, I haven't." No, she said, you can tell me because this is just a regular. We're not going to do nothing to you because you're probably scared after what we did to you." When she said that, I'm like, she probably knew about me. She probably was there when that was happening. And I said, "No, I haven't." She said, "Have you been to? I've been to a hospital, but that's because of regular checkups." She said, "So you have any?" I said, "No." She said, "That's impossible." I said, "How's your spleen?" So I said, "Well, by that time they had already checked my spleen, and my spleen disappeared after like 2 years. It disappeared completely. So I no longer have the spleen. So I already told you that it disappeared completely because when I came here, they did some tests and they say that they didn't have to remove it. It was going to disappear on its own, and it did. So anyway, this doctor that did the evaluation over the phone, some follow-ups they say, she was surprised. So I think she ended up getting medical records from the doctors here and from USC Medical Center, the General Hospital, whatever, because I think she didn't believe me. I think she didn't believe me. So I have met people on the medical field that they said, "This is impossible." So 90% of them, because I have met a few, have told me that I am a miracle. Now, years after that, I have met other people and I have told them my story like I told you. And these are the people that have told me that I should write a book about my story because I am an inspiration. Not the fact that I'm 50 years old and what I've been through, and I never gave up. I never give up. I always have faith in God that everything is going to be okay. I had gone through a lot. At one time, my L4 and my L5 were open like 7 millimeters, 6 to 7 millimeters. For almost 3 months, I couldn't sit down on my own. I couldn't walk. I couldn't bend. Needed help just to go to the bathroom, where people will hold me from my hands while I sit in the bathroom. Because at that time, at that place, I didn't have anything for a handicap. I did have a friend who came by once and put something on the side on the place where I was staying at that time. So I had gone through a lot. One time for like 3 months. Again, couldn't walk because of my left knee. My left knee was giving up on me, and so I knew what to do. So I would exercise. I would do therapy on my own, because once the case was closed, I was on my own. So I've been through a lot. Hopefully this video can give you an idea. Like I said, there are other things that happen. So I just want you to have an idea what I went through in the hospital and the days and the years after what else can I add? Once again, I really thank you for what you're doing, and hopefully, we can meet in person a little bit more and talk about this. But like I said, there's a lot more, and you will read things on the medical records that you probably gonna be like, no, this is impossible. And like I said, hopefully, what's gonna come out of this is a blessing. It's a blessing, to tell my story, and it's gonna be a blessing to be an inspiration for anybody out there that are giving up. Because like I said, I have told my friends and relatives that it's amazing that you didn't give up, Douglas. It's amazing you didn't just sit on the couch and just stay there. No, as soon as I got a chance, I started working out. I started taking care of myself. Like I said, I've been through a lot. Like I said, like twice my low back gave up me. They were gonna do surgery on my lower back. I said no. So at the moment I was still being treated by the doctors. I didn't have to work. Insurance was helping me out. So what I did, I just relaxed as much as possible. As a matter of fact, one doctor was surprised at how I brought almost 7 millimeters or 6 it's gonna be on the files, to almost like 2 in just months with just therapy. I went to this place to take therapy, and I also did it on my own. And so they were surprised. And that's one doctor that told me. That's another doctor that told me, Douglas, I hope one day you can write a book about your story. And that's my primary doctor that I have, Mr. Odell. Hopefully we can find him and he can sign over the book. May God bless you, Mr. L. And when we get a chance, we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Thank you.